So picture this. One of England's most historic football clubs decides to take an £800 million gamble. They're leaving their home of more than 100 years to build a brand new future right on the iconic Liverpool waterfront. This is a story about a massive risk, some truly mind-blowing engineering, and a vision to completely redefine a football club.
Now, to really get what a huge deal this is, you have to understand where they're coming from. Goodison Park, the grand old lady, has been their home since 1892, an absolute fortress. But let's be honest, it's a relic from another time, it's landlocked in a residential area, the capacity is limited, and so many seats have terrible views. So what this table really shows is the sheer leap in ambition. The new Hill Dickinson Stadium adds over 13,000 seats and plants the club right on the waterfront at Bramley-Moore Dock. This isn't just a move, it's a statement for a whole new century.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll get into the unbelievable engineering challenge of building this thing. Then, we'll look at how it's designed from the ground up for the fans. After that, we'll explore how it's a total game changer for the club's finances. And finally, we'll talk about the legacy this creates for the entire city of Liverpool. Okay, first up, engineering an impossible stadium. And I'm not exaggerating. This wasn't just another construction project. It was basically a battle against the elements and a really delicate dance with history. They weren't just building on land, they were building on water.
This really gets to the heart of the problem. You've got this historic, protected dock, okay? It's filled with millions of liters of water. The walls holding it all in are heritage structures. You can't just knock them down. And on top of all that, it gets battered by these fierce winds coming in from the Irish Sea. So seriously, where do you even start building a 53,000-seat stadium on a site like that? It just sounds completely impossible.
Well, they solved it with this incredibly clever four-step process. First things first, preservation. The team meticulously laser scanned every single inch of those 900 meters of historic dock wall. Then, displacement. They dredged 500,000 cubic meters of sand from the nearby bay and used it to fill the entire dock. Now here's the genius part. They used that sand to protect the old walls, acting like a giant cushion. And then, only after all that did they start building the foundations, carefully placing every pile so that it wouldn't touch the original heritage structure at all. Just brilliant.
And get this, for a fascinating detail. Usually the first step in a project like this would be to scoop out all the soft, mucky silt at the bottom of the dock and get rid of it. But the engineers asked, hey, what if we just left it there? And they did. By keeping 75,000 cubic meters of that silt in place, they scored a massive win for sustainability. We're talking about the equivalent of 30 Olympic swimming pools of material that they didn't have to dredge and dump. It saved time, money, and was way better for the environment. So, we've covered the foundations hidden under the water. Now, let's talk about the fortress that's rising above it. This whole section is about how this stadium was designed with one primary goal in mind, creating an incredible atmosphere for the fans. And this quote from the architect, Dan Meese, just nails the whole vision. He was inspired by these huge old brick warehouses that you see all over the Liverpool docks. The idea was to create a stadium that felt like it had grown right out of its surroundings. So you have this modern building with a brick base that honors that industrial history, and then it's topped with a roof that looks like a wave, symbolizing that blue wave of Everton fans. Pretty cool, right?
Now for a little insider secret. How do you actually guarantee a perfect view from nearly 53,000 different seats? Well, you use something called a C-value. It's basically a mathematical formula that designers use to calculate the exact line of sight from your seat over the head of the person in front, right down to the action on the pitch. You know those old stadiums where you're stuck behind a pillar? The whole point of the C-value is to make sure that never, ever happens here. Every single seat is a great seat.
And you can really see that thinking in practice here. The stands are built at the steepest angle the law allows, a full 35 degrees, which keeps the fans right on top of the action. That closeness is what creates that intimidating wall of blue and really cranks up the volume. And look at the details. Instead of big concrete barriers blocking the view, they've used reinforced glass. And, this is so important, with almost 300 wheelchair positions, it's set to be one of the most accessible stadiums in the whole country.
A great atmosphere is crucial, of course, but an £800 million project has to pay for itself. And that's where the money side of things comes in. So let's look at how the Hill Dickinson Stadium is designed to be a total commercial game changer for Everton.
I mean, this chart really puts the financial impact into perspective. The club's best ever year for commercial income was £64 million back in 2020. With the new stadium, they're not just expecting to beat that record in their first year, they expect to completely shatter it. The club's own people have called it a step change, a launch pad into a whole new financial league that was just impossible before.
And here's why that's happening. The new stadium has allowed Everton to attract a whole new level of global brands as founding partners, something they just couldn't do with the old Goodison Park. They've got their first ever soft drinks partner with Pepsi, a beer partner with Budweiser. These are massive household names who see the stadium as this incredible platform, not just for football, but for concerts and other huge events.
And of course, the heart of it all is the name on the building. Now, the exact figures are kept under wraps, but the naming rights deal with the law firm Hill Dickinson is huge. The club itself has said it's one of the largest deals of its kind in all of European football. That's a massive statement of intent that puts Everton in a whole new commercial ballpark.
All right, for our final section, let's zoom out, because this project was always about way more than just football. It's really about forging a lasting legacy for the entire city of Liverpool. Just look at that number, £1.3 billion. That's the estimated economic boost this single project is expected to bring to the region. It's taking a part of the city's famous waterfront that was pretty run down and turning it into a catalyst for regeneration, helping to create as many as 15,000 jobs. This is why it matters so much, beyond just what happens on the pitch.
And the development doesn't just stop with the stadium. That historic hydraulic tower on the site is being restored and turned into an event space. There are plans for the dock next door to be developed with hotels, bars, and restaurants. The stadium will be on the world stage in 2028, hosting games for the European Championship. It's quickly becoming a destination you can visit any day of the year.
So, it all leaves us with this one big question. Everton has bet its entire future on this magnificent, challenging, and incredibly ambitious project. They've built an absolute marvel on what seemed like an impossible site. But can one single building, one stadium, truly redefine a football club's destiny and reshape a world-famous skyline for the next 100 years? I guess we're all about to find out.